I mostly read public domain books here on Glenn Reads Books to You, and they were written a long time ago, so they're usually racist, or sexist, or bigoted. But in there somewhere is a story, and that's why those stories are famous. Other times, I read works from independent authors, and they're delightfully not racist. But they might have adult language or adult situations, like, making sex. So that's your warning. But I'm sure you're grown up enough to handle it. Don't write to me complaining. Useless. Minneapolis is useless. I've spent this entire summer... Oh, god damn it! All right, take a seat, you little idiot. I was just reflecting on the fact that, sure, Minneapolis governor, who's a nice guy, is now the vice presidential nominee for Kamala Harris. Isn't that fun? Suddenly we're in the news. Everyone's talking about Minnesota dad, that kind of thing. That's great. It's been raining all summer. And my goddamn white trash pool, I've only swam in it like 3 times because it's been raining the whole time. Minnesota is useless. Welcome to the Glenn Reads Books to You Mansions. Fun little bit where I pretend to live in a mansion and not just recording in my basement. This is where I read the hottest public domain books and short stories. This week, we're going to read My Past Is Mine by Gerda Rhoads. Want to learn about the author? I hope so, though there's almost no information about her online. Author Gerda Rhoads, born, have no idea. Died, I don't know, probably still alive for all I know. I looked around like crazy on the internet, couldn't find anything about this person. And then finally, I opened up the actual short story that I downloaded from Gutenberg.org. And right there in the very beginning it says, Gerda Rhoads was born in Vienna and came to the United States with her parents by way of London and Rio. She was educated at Hunter College, became a ballet dancer, took up painting, and has done some very charming canvases. And when she married a painter and they went to Paris, she turned to writing. Sounds glamorous, doesn't it? With the publication, this is actually part of, I think she wrote this about herself. Sounds glamorous, doesn't it? With the publication of her first story, Gerda Rhoads proves her pen is glamour tipped too. Want to hear some fun facts I stole from interestingliterature.com? Sure you do. 20 interesting facts about science fiction. The word spaceship dates back to 1880. The phrase science fiction is first found in print in 1851. The phrase parallel universe was first used by H.G. Wells' 1923 novel Men Like Gods. This is not interesting. William Gibson popularized the term cyberspace in a short story of 1982, though contrary to persistent rumor, he didn't coin the word. Then why put that in? The word robot was invented by the brother of a Czech playwright in 1920. There's a life-size Android version of science fiction writer Philip K. Dick, built in 2005 by David Hansen. It has been christened Robo-Dick. There are actually 4, not 3, laws of robotics. I hate all of this. This is horrible. Jules Verne's 1863 book, Paris in the 20th Century, is set in Paris in 1960, correctly predicted cars, fax machines, and the internet. In 1974, Arthur C. Clarke predicted the internet of the year 2001. Fine. In the first chapter of his 1948 novel Space Cadet, Robert Heinlein predicted mobile phone technology. Oh, thank God. That's the grandfather clock telling me to shut up so that we can go downstairs and start reading this story. I'm coming. Here I am. All right, I'm finally back. I went to the bathroom. I've been peeing a lot lately. I either have a problem with my prostate, or I'm just an alcoholic. I guess we'll never know. I like to blame the weather, which I also blame on Tim Walz, because ever since he decided to be the vice presidential nominee and become America's dad, our weather has just been horse shit. So I blame him. Everyone who thinks, oh, isn't it cute? He's America's dad. You see a lot of stuff on TikTok about him. It's like, no, it's not cute. That's just kind of everyone in Minnesota. Like, if any of those people that think, oh my God, he's a dad, he's like a dad. And then, like, you move to Minnesota, you're like, oh, yeah, my neighbor is just like Tim Waltz. Isn't that hilarious? And then after, like, a month of, like, every time I go to the grocery store, I keep running into Tim Waltz types. And you're like, it's not cute anymore. Now it's just getting grating. And then after a while, you're like, oh my God, if I see another Tim Waltz type when I'm just trying to, like, get gas at the gas station, I'm going to throw up. So anyways, I blame him for the fact that it's freezing cold out and raining all the time. It's like fall. And since it's like fall, why don't you put on a little sweater, huh? I got a little bowl full of nuts there, and just get yourself seated as I start to read this story. The voice asked at Eddie Tomlinson's elbow, "Yeah, is this seat free?" Eddie nodded, and hardly looking around, picked up his hat, which he had carelessly put on the seat at his side. A little impatiently, he placed it on the rack overhead, and then he went back to his contemplation of the wooded hills through which the train was threading its way. It was the first time he had been in the country since it happened, and perhaps he had allowed himself, against his better judgment, some unconscious hope. Possibly because it was autumn, and the very best part of autumn for being in the country. Certainly he must have allowed himself to hope. Otherwise, he would not again be feeling the sharp despair, which in recent months had subsided into a bleak and monotonous resignation. Dreary, isn't it? Said the voice of the stranger. Eddie turned sharply toward the man, who had taken a seat next to him. Could it be? Could the same thing that happened to this man? In that case, the psychiatrist would have been proved wrong, and ... well, nothing would have really changed. But perhaps it meant some ray of hope. At least he would not be so alone. He would be able to talk to this man, and they could talk about it together. Oh, he almost blurted out the question right away, but he had so many unpleasant experiences with it that he refrained from asking it for a long time, and now the habit of silence held him back. I looked at his neighbor more closely, and the man's skin was, freckled. He could tell that. And the hair was rather, white. Oh, there was something vaguely familiar about the eyes, about the whole face. But these days, people tend to look rather alike, or anyway, more so than before. The man looked at him attentively. Haven't we, no, it couldn't be, he suddenly said. And then he added softly, so that Eddie could barely hear him, "It's become hard to recognize old friends." Eddie felt sure of it now. This man had sensed a kinship in him, and was in the same boat. But he was afraid to ask that question, so he was throwing out subtle hints, inviting Eddie to ask. Eddie took one more glance at the landscape, and then looked steadily at the man. "I must ask you something," he said, forcing himself to speak slowly and calmly above the wave of excitement. And then he stopped because he realized how the question would strike the stranger if he weren't what it seemed. It's a strange question," Eddie continued, haltingly. "Go ahead," said the man encouragingly, his face earnest. "I won't think you crazy." The fear left Eddie. "Do you, or did you ever, know color?" he asked. "Color?" The man seemed disappointed, but not shocked. "Yeah, you know, red, green, blue, yellow, all the others." Eddie's voice trailed off as his excitement faded. The stranger obviously didn't know, or there would have been an immediate response. All that showed in his face was disappointment, faintly tinged with curiosity. At last, though, there was no ridicule. All right, I can read. What was that word again? Color. Kolar. Interesting. Would you tell me about it? Try to describe it? Can't be described, Eddie said, almost sharply. Then, relenting, he added, I've tried before, many times, just after it happened. After what happened? I wish you'd tell me. I'd like to know for ... personal reasons, which I may tell you afterwards. Of course, you may have related it so many times that it bores you. No, as a matter of fact, I haven't. I haven't told the whole story for months. And then only once. Eddie felt hope again. This man, though he didn't know color, obviously knew something in italics. Oh, he knew what he knew might help him more than unlikely theories of doctors and psychiatrists. It happened a little over 6 months ago on a rainy spring night, Eddie began. I'll tell you all the details about the rain and all, because who knows what counts and what doesn't. Go on, said the man. Don't leave anything out. That night, I felt lonely and sort of depressed, and I decided to go to the movies. Nothing so much was playing in my neighborhood, so I went to go look at the cheap revivals on 42nd Street. I wandered around for a long time in the rain, getting more and more depressed. Oh, I couldn't find anything good playing, and I didn't feel like going home again, and I just then I saw a garish poster of a bullfighter, And above it, the movie marquee said, Blood and Sand. And I'd seen the movie before, and I didn't think it was anything so special, but I remembered the color, real vivid and romantic. So I decided to go see it again, and it was better than going back to the apartment. You said the word color again, the stranger interrupted. You better try to explain that to me right now. Color, I mean. I can't, Eddie answered sadly. Oh, if you've never seen it, I just can't. I told you I tried before. Anyway, that night there was still color. That is, up until the time that I walked out of the movie house, I came into the middle of the film during a scene which had impressed me a lot. My wife is staring at me. What do you want? Am I reading The Giver? No. Slink back to your hole. Moving on, the big bull ring with the gold and yellow sand, and the bullfighters wearing blue and green and gold, and many other colors. Oh, the words are probably new to you, and the bright red cape, and I tell you, I remember that scene so clearly because of the colors, and now it was all black and white and gray. Those at least are the words that you knew, black and white and gray, and you know what tone, in quotes, means. Well, color has tone too. But there's so much more, such great differences, and it can't be described, but everything had it. Of course, even in those days, they made many movies in just black and white, but the particular one had been in color, as I said, and really fine color. When I came in then, I said, in the middle of the bullfight scene, and I saw it was all just black and white, the red cape and the blue sky and all, and I thought at first that I got crazy. Oh, that was my memory, was playing terribly incentive tricks on me. Then came other scenes, which I remembered the color in great detail. I decided that I couldn't have just invented all that color so precisely and believed that I'd really seen it. It occurred to me that maybe this was just a cheap black and white reprint of the original color film. Well, I stayed till the end of the film because, as I said, I didn't feel like going home that night, and I got pretty much used to the black and white, though the film was certainly much poorer that way. I stayed till the bullfight scene came around again, and when I first got out of the lobby, I was too blinded by the sudden bright light to notice anything. I was out in the street that I got the shock. There was no color out there at all. Oh, the posters. Oh, the neon signs. People's clothes. They're shades of gray. If they weren't black or white. I looked into a mirror and on the side of the store window, and my own maroon tie was just sort of a darkish gray. It was as if everything, all life, had become a black and white movie. I was terribly frightened, and I thought something had happened to my eyes, or to my brain, and I ran back to the movie house, but the ticket booth was already closed. I asked the man who was just coming out, was that movie in color? Oh, he just looked at me as if he thought I were crazy, and walked on without answering. Of course, it was a silly question, but what difference did it make if that movie was in color or not? I couldn't see color anywhere in italics. Well, it seems a good place to take a break. It's a real short story. So why don't we go to my basement, which is totally normal and not creepy. It's fine. Just get down to my basement where I can play guitar to you under a couple of naked light bulbs and let you know about the latest upcoming books from Penguin Random House. I'm coming. Here I am. Okay. Don't get weird about it. It could be like a bladder infection or maybe a prostate or something. Who knows? Hey, little puss. I learned recently, because I, for some weird reason, had to look up the word puss on the internet. Dictionary.com says that puss is a term of endearment for both girls and women, which is really weird. And yet, why does it have to just be for girls and women? Can it be for everyone? I've decided it can be. So, little puss, why don't you take a seat there underneath that naked light bulb while I stand here underneath this naked light bulb and play this guitar for you. I'm doing really well. I'm doing really great as I let you know about the latest upcoming Penguin Random House book, Assassin's Fate by Robin Hobb. It's coming out on August 13th. Let's learn about it. New York Times bestseller, which is, again, a scam. The stunning conclusion to Robin Hobb's Fitz and the Fool trilogy, which began with Fool Assassination and Fool's Quest. Good, these are books that we should all probably already know about. Every new Robin Hobb novel is a cause for celebration. Oh, people are cheering in the streets. Along with millions of other fans, I delight in every visit to the 6 duchies, the Rain Wilds, and the Out Islands. I can't wait to see where she'll take me next, says George R.R. Martin, a guy that has not finished a book that he's been working on for like 8 years. More than 20 years ago, the first epic fantasy novel featuring Fitz chivalry, Farseer, that's a person's name, and his mysterious, often maddening friend, the Fool, struck like a bolt of brilliant lightning. Now, New York Times bestselling author Robin Hobb brings to a momentous close the 3rd trilogy featuring these beloved characters in a novel of unsurpassed artistry that is sure to endure as one of the great masterworks of the genre. George R.R. Martin can take a note from him. He just wrote 3 books. I'm done. That's my 3rd one. But nope, George keeps writing them. Fitz's young daughter, Bee, has been kidnapped by the servants. Oh, a secret society whose members not only dream of possible futures, but use their prophecies to add their wealth and influence. Bee plays a crucial part in these dreams, but just what part remains uncertain. As Bee is dragged by her sadistic captors across the world, Fitz, and the Fool, believing her dead, embark on a mission of revenge that will take them to the distant island where the servants reside. A place the Fool once called home and later called prison. Oh, it was hell. The Fool escaped, maimed and blinded, swearing never to return. For all his injuries, however, the Fool is not as helpless as he seems. Oh, he's a dreamer too, able to shape the future. And though Fitz is no longer the peerless assassin of his youth, he remains a man to be reckoned with. Deadly, with blades and poison, and adept in Farseer magic, whatever that is. And their goal is simple, to make sure not a single servant survives their scourge. Well, that's Assassin's Fate by Robin Hobb. Book 3 of the Fitz and the Fool trilogy. You can get it at paperback for $18.99, August 13th, 2024. And you can get it from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Bookshop.org, Hudson Booksellers, Powell's, Target, and this book's going to get passed by as people are looking for giant containers of cheese curds or cheese balls and just walking around thinking like, I think I should do yoga. I want to do more yoga. But is there a place that has yoga where the walls are made of Himalayan salt lamps and I can just like sweat in there? I don't know. Can I? I don't have a lot of money because I shop at Walmart. Well, with that, why don't we go back upstairs, and continue reading the rest of this story? Coming. All right, I'm here. I'm like a fire hose tonight. There might be a problem. All right, well, why don't we dive back into this story? Okay, so I walked toward the subway to go home. I told myself I was dreaming, or else I was overtired or something. It would have been quite a natural thing to happen to me if I had been overtired because I am a commercial artist. Oh, and I used to be always working with color. Sort of an occupational disease, maybe. But I told myself that it was after a good night's sleep, and I still didn't see color. I'd go to a doctor. That way, I calmed myself a bit, and I slept like a log all night. Next morning, I still didn't see any color, so I called up the agency, and I said I wouldn't be in that day because I was sick. Then I went to see a doctor, and I went to a man who had an office down the street because I had never been sick since I got to New York, and I hadn't any special doctor to go to. Oh, I had to wait a long time, and in the waiting room there was a copy of a holiday magazine, a magazine that was always full of color pictures, and of course they were all black and white now, and I got so worried glancing through it that I put it away and closed my eyes till my name should be called. The doctor listened to my whole story, and then he said, "Yeah, what do you mean by color?" He pronounced it, as you did, like a foreign word. Oh, they spell it just normal, so I guess color. What are they saying? Well, now I want to know how they pronounce it. I tried to explain to him that it was the first time I tried to explain color, and I saw how impossible it was. Then I caught myself and thought, oh, how obvious. This doctor is just trying to test me, yeah? Obviously he knows what color is, red, blue, and all the rest, and here I'm trying to explain it to him, which is impossible. So I realized, or thought I realized, that the doctor was just trying to test me, to see if my mind was working logically. So I asked him for a dictionary. He gave me a standard college dictionary, and I looked up color to show him the definition, but it wasn't there. The dictionary jumped from coliquinita to Colosseum. So I looked for the spectrum of the rainbow and for all kinds of synonyms for the names which called the colors themselves, but none of it was listed. When I looked up from the frantic search, the doctor had a strange expression on his face. "I'm afraid I'm not equipped to help you," he said, and wrote down the name and address of a psychiatrist for me. That's about all there is to the story, except that when I went home, I looked through all my books, poetry, prose, and it had been full of descriptions in terms of color. And red lips and blue sky and green trees and such. It was all gone. No such words were in any of the books. And I went to the library, too, and I looked in all kinds of books. And for a while, I went around asking people the question I asked you earlier. I tried a few more times to describe color before I gave up. I soon gave up asking people because they thought me crazy, or drunk. And I didn't want to end up in some kind of institution. Oh, I felt terrible, of course, not only because life without color is so barren, but also because it was also confusing. I felt so alone. I walked around in a daze for a long time, not knowing any more of what was true and what wasn't, and still hoping it was all a dream. But I dreamt at night, and I dreamt in color, and then I woke up in a colorless world. So after a while, the color went out of my dreams, too. And I went to see a psychiatrist finally, not because I really expected any help or explanation from him, but just be doing something. I told him the whole story. Oh, that was the last time I told it. And it was over 5 months ago. Oh, he made a diagnosis. He said that because of some kind of insecurity in my emotional life, some happening in my childhood, no doubt, I had needed to construct a wholly individual world for myself. Oh, he said that kind of thing does happen, though usually not to such a complete, well-worked-out extent, but it usually passes during adolescence. But my insecurity, for whatever it was, had apparently been very pronounced, and my imagination fertile. He said that there was no need now to analyze what causes any further, since the syndrome had vanished by itself, and I was apparently cured. Since then, I haven't told anyone, and till today, I haven't asked the question. I got pretty used to the gray world, and I work in black and white and tone. But inside of me, I can't believe the psychiatrist. And I guess I don't want to. I guess I keep hoping all the time that... And I was very sad just now, looking at the autumn trees. Well, Eddie sat in silence for a while until he realized with embarrassment that he had fixedly been staring at the man next to him. What do you make of it? He asked as lightly, as casually as he could. Well, said the stranger, slowly and carefully, except for the details and the exact circumstances, it's very much like my story. No, with me, it wasn't color, though there is a word, Or rather, there was a word for which was. The word is pavodil. Well, we're going to look that one up. Thank God for my Kindle. Let's see if it has nothing. Nothing, honestly. Wikipedia, nothing. Translation, nope. Dictionary, okay, so apparently this word doesn't exist. Pavodil, and I can't describe or explain it any better than you can color. But it was much a part of my world as your color, more so in fact, because it wasn't just visual, it was perceptible to all senses, and was also part of reasoning. It stopped more than 2 years ago, and like you with color, the world became as though it had never existed. I had an extremely hard time adjusting. Oh, it was just like coming to another planet, learning a new language. Well, I just can't describe it. If you don't know Pavodil, you can see now why I wanted to hear your story. Oh, there's another reason too. You see, people look so different now. But I have learned to a certain extent how to recognize the people I knew before Pavodil went, and I feel pretty sure I knew you once. Did you ever go to the University of Virginia? Yes, Eddie said, surprised. I did. Class of 34. He looked again at the stranger, remembering the first impression he had of having known that fellow. He had a rather average Irish type of face. What does that look like? With a short nose and a generous mouth. What's a generous mouth? And crow's feet at the corners of his eyes. He had freckles too, and his hair, being rather light, might be red. He searched his memory for a redhead he had known at the university. It seems very improbable, the man was saying now, interrupting his attempts at remember. It doesn't seem possible that you could be he. But back at the university, there was a fellow I remember very well. He was a graduate student, and he was doing very interesting research on the pronding of Providil. There was a great deal of talk about it when his thesis came out, and I was just a junior then, but I remember it. I remember him, and you look just like him. Of course, you look different, but you look as though you would look without Providil and 20 years older. His name was, I don't know, let's see, what was his name? Eddie Tomlinson. That was it. Eddie started when he heard his name. Oh, he hadn't been listening to him, to what the fellow was saying, but he had been too busy trying to place him. Eddie Tomlinson? Why, that's my name, he cried now, in surprise. How'd you know it? I just told you. Oh, yes, Eddie said quickly, not wanting to admit that he hadn't heard. A face, a situation, and a name were coming to the surface of his mind. Jerry Conlon, he exclaimed suddenly. You must be Jerry Conlon. Yes, the man said absently. Yes, that's my name. Oh, how very strange, he continued softly, that you should be Eddie Tomlinson, one of the most promising young Providillians of the time. And you've never heard of Providil, or its prondation, or deg, or any of it. What the hell's a prondation? Looking it up, there is nothing. Okay, so this is a sci-fi author just making up words. One thing I hate about sci-fi from like the 40s and 50s and 60s, they just make up terms, people's names. They're impossible to pronounce. They're doing it now. Never heard of Providil or prondation or deg or any of it. He went on mumbling to himself while Eddie remembered that day when, after an art class, he had gone to watch the light rehearsal of the drama club's newest production and had been so impressed by the ingenious use of colored light that he had sought out the student who had designed them. He had talked for quite a while to the fellow who had been a redhead named Jerry Conlon. So you're Jerry Conlon, Eddie interrupted his neighbor. And what do you do these days? Still stage design and lighting? Or is it something else? Stage design, said Conlon. Lighting? What's that? Well, apparently that's the end of the story. Why don't we go down to the smoking room and try to figure out what the hell we just read? Oh, hello. There you are. No, I didn't go to the bathroom this time. Can you imagine? I finally had a break in the constant flow of urine. Why don't you take a seat there at the table? Oh, God, my wife's birds. Why don't you open up that baboon's skull by taking the top off, and you'll find inside that baboon's skull cigarettes. And have one, because we're in the smoking room. What the hell happened in this story? Apparently Eddie had a process done to them, which is kind of vague. I wish there was like something more written about this that I could read, like somebody else breaking it down and making more sense of it. I don't think I'm smart enough to understand what the hell it is read. It sounds like Eddie had some kind of process done to them, some kind of procedure. And then in the end, they wound up losing the ability to see color. And then he's on a train talking to this person. Can I ask you? He just knows. I think you've had the same procedure done to you as to me. Do you see color? And this guy's like, no. Do you see like provolone or whatever he talks about? Like some sort of general thing more than color. It's like even bigger than that. You see people's personalities or something. I don't know. And so like they just basically are missing something. What is the process? Why do they have it? Why are they both on the train kind of mysteriously not understanding what happened to them, even though they had some kind of procedure done to them? I don't know. Maybe there's more clues in the story, but I'm not the brightest guy. I just, I don't know, drink a lot, pee a lot, and read stories. So I don't really know what really happened there. Apparently, what are they, like space aliens? And to be on Earth, they have to have things removed from them. But then they went to college together on Earth. And apparently knew about these mysterious things that other people don't know about. So, I don't know. I have no idea what the hell happened in this story. But you know, God bless the author, Gerda Rhoads, for making me sit here and spin in circles for a while. Like, what the hell did I just read? So they're both missing elements of what they're used to, which means it's a loss for them. It's not a good thing. But also, the person he's talking to just kind of generally doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. So it's kind of like you're doing a procedure that strips away a lot of your humanity, or what made you you to begin with. Why do they get the procedure? Are they not human? They're probably human. But they're living in a world where people are like, what the hell is color? And provolone or whatever. So I don't know. Maybe it's kind of like language. I've got two kids that went to French immersion, and they talk about language all the time. And I got a friend named Wanda in Germany who talks about language. Certain languages are a little bit stunted. Other ones are more gregarious. So the English language is a giant, messy pool of terms and whatever else that you can just like kind of write all the sort of things you want to write. But other languages are more stunted. You have like less words to deal with. So that's the society that they live in. And their view on society or the world is based on the words they can use. So it can be stunted in some languages, more open and more ambiguous in other languages. So maybe in this case, it's like these people are in this society where color and whatever provolone is too ambiguous and too whatever, and they're trying to integrate them into society by destroying what they know for ambiguity or in other kind of layers of context and just getting rid of all of it and getting them to live in their black and white world and also a world without provolone. I don't know. That's the best I can come up with. This story is confusing as hell, but I read it. So with that, thanks for listening, and I guess I will see you next week. Well, it appears you found me in the part of the podcast I hate the most, where I tell you all about the places on the internet where you can find me. You can tell I hate this because of the sound effects making it sound like a stormy night in the drawing room of the damned. Now, there's that. Are you cool? I like cool people. It's the reason why I got involved in this business to begin with, just to meet cool people, not losers. So if you're cool, feel free to go over to my website, nuzzlehouse.com. Bye! But if you go there, you get to hear some of the other stuff that I and my wife work on, like the Radio Mystery Theater show, where we try to recreate the same show that used to be on in the 70s, but they don't make any episodes anymore. So we make our own, and we just steal all their commercials. And also, just in the curious mind, we made a Christmas album. If you go to our link tree, you can see that we made a Christmas album. It's the first thing we did after getting married, which I think everyone should do when they get married, is start talking about the Christmas album they're going to make. And we're working on a new show where we give relationship advice by reading paranormal smut. And since I think you might be cool, you can always just email me directly, glenn.nuzzles@gmail.com. But don't email if you're a nerdlinger or a dork. Now, back to business. I can't believe I drank all of them already. There's got to be one left.